Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special interview. I'm your host, Waqas Malik, a forgiveness coach, and today I have a truly inspiring guest joining us, Maria Jeffers. Maria is an expert in empowering ambitious professionals to create authentic work-life balance and avoid burnout. Her mission is to help individuals improve their emotional stability and focus by building their mental fitness. Maria, it's a pleasure to have you here today. So my
Thank
first
you.
my first question is to you that can you please share your journey and what inspired you to focus on helping professionals with work-life balance and mental fitness?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. Really, my own journey was going back some 10, 11 years ago now, when my two daughters were quite young. I was in a corporate career. I was traveling quite a lot. It was a sales role. And I just hit a point where I just thought I can't do this anymore. I'd reached a point at the time I didn't realize, but I burnt out really, both in a sort of family way and also professionally. It all seemed too much, like I couldn't do it all. So I handed in my notice and I had 8 years out of work, which was fine. I was raising a family, that was very fine, but life became very small for me. And I started to become aware of this, that I was pulling away from social occasions. My life was becoming smaller and smaller. And as my girls were getting a bit older, I did start to recognize this. And I ended up getting involved in my daughter's hobby of horse riding. And it's something that I used to do years ago. And that sport unearthed so much fear. I had so much fear in me that never used to be present when I was younger. And I just thought, what is this all about? So anyway, I ended up completing an online program that was all about releasing this fear so that I could ride my horse. But little did I know that it really opened up this world of coaching. It was all about the fear having nothing to do with the horse. It was all about me and how I was feeling about myself, how I was perceiving the world to be, the threats that I thought I could see. So I ended up then, just doing my own research, reading lots of books, and I completed a coaching accreditation program because it just did wonders for me. I couldn't believe how I was changing throughout the process of 12 months. I was like seeing things in such a different way. I was experiencing life quite differently. And I just really wanted to be able to share this with other people. So that I'm going back now about 3 years ago. It was during COVID that I did my accreditation. So yeah, 2.5 years ago. And from then I've just been on a self-development journey and helping other people along the way.
Right. So, Maya, your 15 years in occupational psychology is a valuable asset. How has your corporate career influenced your career approach, coaching approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's quite ironic that my career was actually working with assessments, personality assessments, behavioral assessments. So I did have knowledge of how we can objectively measure personality within people. What I wasn't fully appreciating at the time was that all of our behavior starts with our thoughts. And I know that sounds, in a way, it sounds obvious, of course it does, but I didn't appreciate how the thoughts were driving everyday behavior. I didn't have that appreciation for the psychology at the time. So although I was very used to dealing with this in an occupational sense, I was never looking at it from a personal perspective. It was always about how can I help organizations match up the right people to the right role or develop them within their role. Where I was separating the two. It was very much work life, personal life. So that it has, having the knowledge of the psychology has definitely helped me. But at the time, my psychology knowledge was very occupational. It wasn't really focused on the whole person.
Yeah, wonderful. So your message emphasized the power of choice. How do you help individuals make meaningful choices about their lives and careers?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's just really helping people to recognize that the things they do every day are choices. We choose how to be, how to show up. We think it's just, we're on autopilot a lot of the time. When I work with people, it's helping them to regain consciousness of who they are, because I think we just all end up falling into how we've been conditioned. We are on autopilot. We're behaving the way we do because that's how we think we are. We just keep doing the same things. And it's really taking a step back and having a look at what our values are and thinking, well, I am going to choose how to behave. I'm going to choose whether to do certain things or not. Things aren't just simply happening to me. I am making choices that are going to impact a later date in the future, maybe. And I never, again, it's about becoming aware. It is self-awareness.
Right. Could you share a personal transformation or pivotal moment in your own life that led you to where you are today?
Yes. I think, the transformation, I guess when I was initially, we opened up this conversation and I talked about how different I was from being that person that just hit a bit of a brick wall and thought, I can't do this. I had that mindset of, I can't, as if there was no other option, as if there was no other perspective to take. I really clearly thought, no, I can't do this. I need to just be at home with the children. I can't have a career as well. So that was a moment that obviously sent me into making my life smaller. I think the moment that brought me out of it was, again, it was related to the horse at the time that I'd become so fearful of. And it was that moment that made me realize, hang on, what is going on inside me? Because it never used to be this way. Horses didn't used to scare me when I was a child. I had to learn how to reconnect with where's that child gone inside of me that was brave and courageous and had fun? Where's she gone? Because I was scared. So that was really a turning point for me when I did the program around fear, and really it just resonated with me on every level.
Right. So you mentioned the importance of emotional stability and mental fitness. What are some key practices or exercises you recommend to improve emotional regulation and mental well-being?
Yeah, well, now I have, realized that we often as humans spend too much time in our heads. We are thinking all the time. We're thinking through problems. We're thinking about solutions to things. We're constantly thinking. So the thing I've become aware of is how we need to get back into our body and realize that, we are a body as well. We feel, we are in a moment every day. We can be present rather than worrying about the future or a past event. When we actually drop into our body and realize that we are here right now, and if we focus on the moment, then that anxiety that causes emotional instability seems to, it helps fade away. So daily practices that I have now, I use an app. I help coach people and I support them with an app, Positive Intelligence Mental Fitness app. And it enables people to practice for 15 minutes a day. And that can be sectioned up into, say, 3 lots of 5 minutes. And it's about being mindful for those minutes. It is about focusing on one of our senses. That can be the sense of the sounds that we can hear in the distance. We just close our eyes and for a few minutes, literally just focus on the things we can hear and allow our thoughts to pass through and just focus on that one thing. You can do the same with touch, with visuals, just really looking at the detail of something and noticing things. But what this does is it trains our brain to be in the moment. So those little exercises that we're doing, it might seem a bit silly at first. You think, well, I don't really need to do this. I know how to focus. However, we often don't. We think we know how to focus, but our mind's flitting everywhere. We want to focus on something and we struggle to do it. But when we practice this way for 15 minutes a day, it builds up mental. If you think of the brain as a bit of a muscle, it can build up the fitness of our brain that allows us to focus in the moments that we really want to. So that's a practice now that I have found can really help drop me into the zone when I need to focus. The fact that I've done this practice.
That's wonderful. Maria, today many professionals face uncertainty and stress. How do you guide them in maintaining focus and positivity amid challenges?
Yeah, I know. I think sometimes that's where, our need to control things is to really stop the uncertainty of the world, isn't it? I guess the only certain thing we have is that we have uncertainty, and it's almost making friends with that. It's realizing that, look, life and the things that happen around us a lot of which we just don't have control over. There is uncertainty out there. However, our focus of, what we can control, there are aspects we can control, which includes ourselves, but we have to let go of those things that we can't control. And again, it comes back to really stop looking out there to try and control other things. Let's think about how we can work on ourselves. How can we help ourselves deal with uncertainty? How do we need to think about things differently? So it's about learning to control what we can and letting go of the things that we can't.
Right. So self-destructive actions can hinder personal and professional growth. What strategies do you employ to help individuals recognize and overcome these patterns?
Say that one again for me. Just the
self-destructive actions.
Self-destructive. Oh, absolutely. We don't always see our self-destructive actions, do we? We have blind spots. Often we've been brought up with certain beliefs or certain values, and we don't see that maybe some of these don't serve us and they don't match with what we really want to work towards. So again, it comes back to self-awareness. First of all, are we aware of what self-destructive habits that we have? So one of mine, for example, is I used to get up every single day and put the news on. That was the first thing I listened to, the news. And that would be full of negativity often. Yeah, I know you get some good stories in, but it's generally the media is feeding us with negative stories. So that was the first thing I heard every morning for years and years. And now realizing it, if you would have said that's a self-destructive behavior, I would have thought, no, it's not. I'm just watching the news. I couldn't see it at the time. But now I actually realize, how was that helping me? How was that setting me up to have a positive day, doing the things that I want to do that are aligned with what I value? Listening to very negative reports of what is happening, and I can do nothing about it. Again, it comes back to that uncertainty. I'm not able to control those events. So for me, it was quite self-destructive because I was emotionally invested and involved in some of these stories then that I couldn't do anything about. So I think the first step is for anyone who has self-destructive patterns, it's recognizing that it is, because sometimes we don't see it, and it can take an outsider to maybe, challenge us on some things to say, is that actually helping you?
Right. So could you share a success story of a client who effectively broke free from self-sabotage with your guidance?
Yeah, there's trying to think of who was I thinking of? Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different clients that I can think of. I think the main common theme is people connecting back to themselves and losing the self-consciousness that we can have, because we think people are so focused on us. We become self-conscious and we start to hide things about ourselves. But actually, one of the clients I'm thinking of, when they realize that if they focus on the outward, so if they're looking to serve a client, focus on them. It's not about you being self-conscious or feeling silly in front of that person. It's about what are their needs, what do they, and then it becomes, you're just able to not worry so much about how you're coming across or being self-conscious, because it's quite a selfish thing to be self-conscious. You end up, you're so focused on you're forgetting about what the purpose is and who is it you're trying to help. So that is a story, really. The thing that's coming to mind for me is how we were able to turn that thinking around for someone and have them focus on the purpose and the why of them doing something rather than feeling self-conscious.
Right. So forgiveness is a powerful aspect of personal development. How do you incorporate forgiveness into your coaching and its impact on mental fitness?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think forgiveness, it starts with ourselves, doesn't it? First of all, we need to look at, some of the things we need to forgive ourselves for, our human imperfections. We are all imperfect, and we need to forgive ourselves for that. And I think it's very difficult to forgive other people for things when we can't forgive ourselves. And that is probably, I mean, you will know more about this being a forgiveness coach, but I would imagine that is the biggest block for people forgiving other people, is the fact that they've got unresolved things themselves that they can't forgive themselves for. So really what they're doing is projecting how they feel about themselves onto someone else's flaws, and they'll dig in hard and be, you know, being right is more important than the relationship. But again, I would say there's probably something going on for that person that makes them so stubborn to hold on to the fact that they are so right.
Right. So could you please provide an example of how forgiveness has played a role in helping a client achieve emotional stability and personal growth?
Yeah, I think, yeah, what someone I've worked with, you know, looking back, she needed to forgive herself for how she was when she was younger. It was something that was still showing up in her life. She was almost angry with herself for some things that she'd done in the past that were not, you know, not by no means nothing bad at all, but something she felt shame over and did not like. And it's like really still sitting there with her. So it was allowing, sometimes with the clients that I work with, it's just allowing them to tell me things and share things, and it releases it. It's almost like, oh, it was okay. You know, I didn't look shocked, or it didn't seem, it's okay. And it's that acceptance from someone else. And then it allows people to forgive themselves. It's like they've been holding themselves, they've just really been beating themselves up over something that they can now release and let go of.
Right. You mentioned the saboteur assessment. Could you explain what it is and how it helps individuals gain insights into their inner critics?
Yeah, the saboteurs assessment, it's something that people can access. I can maybe drop it on a link that I can show you. It's a free assessment, takes about 5-6 minutes to complete, and it helps people understand through a quick assessment. It helps you understand the key characteristics of the negative thoughts that we have. So for some people, for example, it might be perfectionist tendencies. For other people, it might be the voice of the avoider trying to stop you doing certain things. That voice that comes in and says, oh, no, you don't want to try that. Let's stay safe instead. So it's about identifying the different voices. Some of us have the hyperachiever that's always trying to push us on to do the next thing, where our self-worth is maybe attached to us achieving lots of things. So some of these negative voices, we don't recognize them as negative voices because we're so used to them. That's what's driving us and pushing us along or holding us back, but we don't necessarily see it until you just have a little look of this assessment and you're able to quickly take a look at the characters and you think, oh, actually, yeah, you know, maybe I have got the voice of the people pleaser, you know, and it sounds good to be able to please others, but if it goes against your own values, it leaves you feeling resentful and negative. So it's very interesting to uncover some of the thoughts that we have that we wouldn't necessarily say were negative, but they can be quite destructive.
Right. So what are your future goals and aspirations for your coaching practice, and how do you plan to continue making a difference? Any final advice or words of wisdom you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I would just like to continue to work with clients on a one-to-one because I really do. It's so rich. It's such a lovely thing to be able to help people navigate through their own journey. And I'm constantly working on myself all the time as well. So it's just lovely to be able to work with people who want to change for the better themselves. I think there's no better people to work with than those that want to be more positive and be the best they can be. But also I'd like to be able to deliver more group programs. So people can access this mental fitness, but we can work as part of a group, because that accountability for each other, that's brilliant. When you can bring like-minded people together that are all working on, so, you know, they can be different goals, but on a common theme. That's a lovely thing. So I think future plans will be to try and have pods of people come together and we can go through the mental fitness as a group.
Right. Thank you, Maria, for sharing your valuable insights and expertise with me today. Your dedication to helping professionals achieve authentic work-life balance and enhance their emotional stability is truly commendable. So as we wrap up this insightful conversation, I would like to express my gratitude to our guest Maria Jeffers for her time and wisdom. Your perspective has shed light on the importance of mental fitness and forgiveness in our professional and personal lives. Once again, thanks Maria for being here. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mohammed. That's great.